Hello, race fans, and welcome once again to another high-octane episode of Trackside, proudly presented by Document Technologies. Document Technologies provides a comprehensive range of managed solutions, including multifunction devices, managed print services, and document management software. They're also known for their fast service, boasting an average response time of 2 hours or less, and offer high-quality product multifunction devices alongside document management and cloud hosting software. Stay tuned, racing enthusiasts, because the action starts right now, right here on Trackside.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Trackside. Yep, lots of action. I'm Terry Turner right there. Speaking of action is Randy Dye. You got plenty of action going on, don't you, Randy?
It's busy, buddy. It's busy. Yes, sir. A lot going on.
Well, and you enjoyed your time last week. You had a little time off and got to talk to some folks with lots of wisdom, right?
Yeah, it was a blast. I know it has really nothing to do with our program, but, 50 years ago, these two friends of mine, and I was a young kid, they decided to go on a golf trip to Pinehurst. They discovered Pinehurst. It was the first time they'd ever gone to Pinehurst. And over the last 50 years, there's been so many things that have happened and so many people that have been on that same trip. Well, this past week was the 50th anniversary of that first trip with two of the original founders. And for me, it's 49 years because I didn't go the first year. I was, like I said, I was still a kid, and but they invited me the next year. And that from that very first time I went to Pinehurst, I said, "Oh my goodness, this place is just magical," and I will hope one day to be able to live here, to have a home here, and so for the last 50 years they've been going, and the last 49 years I've been going, and to give you a little bit of an idea about that place, we took a photograph with some of the team at Pinehurst, and the youngest number of years of service in that photograph was 50. It was 50, 54, and 62 years working there. So that's the kind of place it is, and it's truly, we have this little catchphrase, and it's called, it's just this simple: everything is just right about this place. So lots of memories. We crammed 50 years worth of memories in 4 days, and had a wonderful time, and the weather was beautiful, the golf courses were great, the camaraderie and the friendship was and is and remains amazing. So if you've never been, you can use my name. That probably will get you thrown out. Oh, no, I'm kidding. But if you've never been, I would highly encourage that as a destination. It's a wonderful place.
Wow, sounds like you had a great time, and it kind of reminds you, in the crazy world that we live in, the words camaraderie and friendship, sometimes you forget about those things, but they're still pretty important, aren't they?
They really are. And what's interesting about the place is that, like when even the staff and I call them the team at Pinehurst, you become friends. The last night that we were there, we had dinner in the Carolina dining room. This was on the National Historic sites of the United States Registry, and our server, if you will, was 21 years there. He was originally from Jamaica. I mean, I can tell you everything about him, and he can tell you everything about us, and that's the kind of place that it is. You see other guests, and everybody's having a good time. They're friendly. It's the first night we were there, there's a place called the Pinehurst Brewery. It was built in 1895. It was the original power company for the village of Pinehurst and how it powered the entire community, and now it's a cool gathering place, restaurant. I can do a documentary on Pinehurst, and but what's great, to your point, what's really important is that you are what you said, camaraderie, friendships, manners, respect. It's just a delightful place to be.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like a place that one of these days could be a retirement place. Am I wrong on that one? You
are not wrong.
Wouldn't that be something to be able to calm down, kind of kick back and retire? You know, personalities never really retire and just sit around, but a different atmosphere, a different way to relax. Yeah, sounds pretty exciting. No doubt about that.
We've got rocking chairs on the porch up there, and we sit there. And the very first day there was a family of 4 deer, one of them being a buck. I mean, it's just. We won't talk at all about racing if you don't hurry up and interrupt me, and let's move on.
One for the memory books. There's no doubt that, ladies and gentlemen. Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about racing. This is a big one. I want to kind of open up with this one, a little bit out of order, but this will kind of hit home with you. Chris Rice, promoted to CEO of Colleague Racing. Chris has been there since the inception in 2016. Has played a vital role in the organization's growth and success in NASCAR. So congratulations to Chris Rice on quite a promotion there, Randy.
Yeah, he's gone from president to CEO. There was no CEO. There was a president of Colleague Racing. There was a little bit of a celebration last night. Chris didn't know this was going to happen. Actually, Daniel was there. And some other the team members were there. I think the thing that first off, absolutely, you're right. Congratulations to Chris. 1,000% earned, and it's he's done a remarkable job building a race team along with Matt Colleague for the last several years, and now they are the Ram factory team, and that's amazing. And obviously we hope that there'll be more to come with that. I think the other part of this, you can't get a promotion like that, the trust and the responsibility that goes with that, unless you have an owner that recognizes the value of that type of person and what they stand for. And so I also congratulate Matt Colleague for recognizing what he's got with Chris. There's a lot of people that don't. They don't recognize people sometimes, and clearly Matt does, and I'm excited for them both. And really, Chris needs to be in that role. I think it's not only well-earned and well-deserved, but it's necessary, because the transformation that's ongoing at Colleague Racing is a big deal, and it's going to need somebody that can organize it all and get it all done, make sure other people are getting stuff done, so that the timetables and the quality are there. So it's a big job, but I know Chris is up to it. We're excited for him. I've got to be around him, quite a bit. He and I first met he's also on the NASCAR Foundation board, and that's where we kind of got started. So very excited for him. Know he's up to the challenge. Can't wait to watch him build the rest of the organization and, put our first Ram trucks on the racetrack in Daytona in February, and giddy up, go. Well earned.
Well, a good sign of stability and growth. Am I right on that one?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this guy has he knows no limits in terms of what it takes to get it done time-wise. He just gets it done. That's how he is, and he'll do what it takes. He'll put in the effort, and one of the things I've learned about being around him and the people of colleague racing, and by the way, we've even done some business with some of the colleague companies people. They all have a tremendous respect for their organization. So the race team really respects Chris. A lot of the other team members in the colleague companies, they respect Matt and what he's done. And we keep talking about these things that are, once upon a time, they were fundamentally essential to being successful, and it was more common. Now it's a rarity, but people like working at colleague, and I think the culture that's set by both Chris and Matt. So I think it's a wonderful partnership. Those two guys work well together. So I think the sky's the limit.
Fantastic. Good news, great news, and again, congratulations to Chris Rice, no doubt about that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll right into the local section of Trackside.
One Daytona, located across from the world's center of racing, is proud to present our local segment, where we talk with a local star in your part of the country following a big win, event preview, and much more. One Daytona in Daytona Beach is a vibrant destination offering an array of shopping, dining, and entertainment options, including unique events and live music suitable for families and individuals alike.
Volusia Speedway Park off till October 25th. That's a Saturday. The full Fab Five will return to Volusia Speedway Park in October for the Fall Classic. Fans will be treated to another round of action with Dirt Car UMP Modified, 604 late models, 602 late models, factory stocks, and three-quarter modifieds. Saturday night at New Smyrna Speedway will be the September Family Fun Night, $5 general admission. You'll see E-Mod, Super Stocks, Bomber A's, Bomber B's, Ground Pounders, and Spectator Racing. Rusty says wear your best fall-themed clothes. They will have the best fall attire contest and a hot dog eating contest. Family Fun Night tickets can only be purchased at the ticket booth on race night. On Saturday night at Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola, you'll see the Night of Champions number 2. Late model qualifying at 5 p.m., 6:30 will be an autograph session. Racing starts at 7:30 with the Deep South Crane Super Late Model Southern Super Series, the Allen Turner Pro Late Models, and Crown Stocks. In New Hampshire last weekend with the Truck Series, Corey Heim gets his 9th win of the season. The Trucks are off this weekend. They'll be back next weekend in Charlotte to begin the round of 8. Jake Garcia and Chandler Smith are eliminated from the playoffs. Xfinity Series was off last weekend. Cup Series, Ryan Blaney gets the win and moves on in the playoffs. NASCAR in Kansas this weekend. Xfinity on Saturday at 4 p.m. on CW. The Cup Guys Sunday at 3 p.m. on USA Network. Randy, I had to stop down and say, you just heard where Rusty at New Smyrna Speedway has asked folks to wear fall attire, and they'd be judged, and there's a contest, etc. Would you agree with me that Rusty...
I know where this is going. Oh, my gosh. Go ahead.
I mean, I can just see Rusty in a pumpkin suit almost.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you know, I get these fresh releases, and I see that I could just see it all unfolding on Saturday night, and it may be something that fans may be long to forget, Randy.
Let's keep it folded up. Let's just keep it folded up.
Ladies and gentlemen, so I think let's roll right out of that and let's do trucks.
Good idea.
The Tough Trucks of NASCAR are next up on the agenda, presented by Aaron Delgado and Associates. With over 110 combined years of experience in criminal defense and personal injury, Aaron Delgado and Associates takes pride in vigorously representing clients in various challenging legal situations within the community. Now, let's go trucking.
Well, everybody heard me say Corey Heim gets his 9th win, Randy, and so let's roll back the clock to 1999, And Corey Heim is now tied with, we all remember when Greg Biffle was in the Truck Series and had a 9-win season in 1999. You just don't know what's going to happen next as we are in the playoffs. And let me just, before you comment, let me just throw out the playoff grid as we prepare to move into the round of 8. Corey Heim is up 74. Lane Riggs, Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Ankrum, Ty Majeski, Grant Enfinger, and Rajan Caruth and Caden Honeycutt down there at the bottom. Corey Heim, again, dominated that race, won the pole. I forget how many laps he led. Wow. What a storm. What a guy. 9 wins. And, hey, we can say this. The season's not over yet, Randy.
No, you go through that list. First off, there's some people that have been there before in the chase. Corey, for sure, and Majeski, Grant Enfinger. They've all been there. I think probably if you read the list, to me, there's others. But the other thing that I find interesting about where this is going, you've got Lane Riggs, and first off, we'll talk about him. I mean, he's got some wins. He's really hard-nosed. One of the toughest competitors there, in my opinion. So has no fear, has no doubts. He'll hang it out there. The other one that maybe people won't see it the same way that I do, but maybe they will once they start to talk about him, is Caden Honeycutt. This is not a guy who is just been finishing well. He races hard. Last year's Snowball Derby winner. Just with all due respect to anybody that wants to have a debate about that is not an easy place to win a race. So I think even though it's clear that Corey Heim is the most dominant this year and the most successful this year, there's no doubt that he would be the favorite. But I would say to you, this is not a slam dunk. There's a lot going on, and if you get, I'm not predicting the Final Four yet. I'm just going to say that if it includes, obviously, Corey Heim, if it includes Lane Riggs, if it includes Caden Honeycutt and Grant Enfinger, this will be epic. It'll be an epic battle. I mean, it will be just crazy to see how this shakes out. So I don't know.
Majeski in there too, Randy. I mean, that's another one.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. But I would say to you, I think that if you said to me which are the 4 toughest competitors, I just gave them to you.
Well, I think you sized it up very well. Corey Heim definitely has a bright future. Frankly, trucks have a bright future. I mean, look at the names that you read off. Not discounting anybody, but there's some great race car drivers driving in the truck series right now. It's been getting a lot of attention. Crowds are building, et cetera, for the on the track races, with people showing up at the track. But golly, I guess I would say what great timing with all the attention and great racing that's happening in the truck series to roll into 2026 with Ram Trucks making a debut. Timing's real nice.
Well, and I think if once you hear the lineup of the Ram truck drivers, you're going to be, I think there's a real chance here that the truck series could become one of the favorites. Again, people love the truck series. but it's I would say to you, when you hear the Ram lineup and you put it together with the rest of that truck, Craftsman Truck Series, it's going to be pretty spectacular and really hard. Yeah.
Well, I got a couple on my screen asking, can you give us any idea of when we might know and be able to announce the drivers for the 2026 Ram trucks?
I would think that probably you'll hear about one of them in October. But the others will become a little bit later.
Well, just from what you're saying, there's going to be some big names, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later when we talk about ratings. But ratings have been off, and we're going to go some of the reasons why and so on and so forth. But one of the things that stood out to me was that we don't have, at this point in time, standouts, names like Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Ratings changed when Jr. retired, as a matter of fact. But with looking at what's happening in the Truck Series and the amount of young drivers coming up, there's going to be some superstars coming to the surface. Would you agree?
Well, I think it's a good crop of race car drivers, race truck drivers that are going to be in that series, and that are right now. I mean, it's not like just because Ram is coming that it's all of a sudden going to be the best thing since sliced bread. No, I mean, there's a good bunch of race car drivers there right now, and as I said, I'm kind of looking forward to this playoff process, because if it gets down to the four that I mentioned, and you're right, I mean, it would be foolish to not include Ty Majeski in the mix, but the only problem is there's only four, and
right.
And I would say if you could put Ty Majeski in there and take somebody else out, and you wouldn't miss a beat. They are going to fight like crazy to win that race, and you got to go back and look at the racetrack and how the different organizations run on that racetrack and how the individual drivers run on that racetrack. It's going to be cool. I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about watching this playoff run, for sure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, before we go into break, let me leave you with this thought. Randy said something very interesting, and we're going to talk about this later, but keep it in the back of your mind. He said, there's only four. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Trackside.
Introducing the all-new tractor and outdoor power equipment section at DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors. Now you can gear up for your outdoor projects with premium brands like Bobcat, Massey Ferguson, Shindaiwa, Echo, and more. Need a powerful lawnmower for that perfectly manicured lawn? They've got it. How about a rugged tractor to tackle those big projects? DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors has you covered. And let's not forget the Lawn and Garden Center with everything from weed whackers to chainsaws. Commercial or residential, DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors has the goods to keep you moving. So why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary? Visit DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors today at their new location and explore the thrilling world of outdoor power equipment. DeLand Motorsports and Outdoors, where the thrill of the ride meets the power of the great outdoors. Your journey begins here.
Welcome back to Trackside as we now take a look under the hood in the NASCAR Xfinity Series presented by Daytona's Garage. Daytona's Garage offers more than just standard dealership customization. They provide a comprehensive range of services for personalizing and enhancing cars, Jeeps, and trucks of any make and model, focusing on both aesthetics and performance with affordability. Reliable service. Now, back to Terry and Randy.
Well, Randy, we mentioned the Earnhardt's name, and we look at as we go into the Xfinity Series, and reminding everyone, of course, in 2026 it will be the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. We're going to have to get used to saying that. I understand that, but the powerhouse that JR Motorsports has been in 2025, Randy, I think you would agree with me that in 2026 it could be even better, because Rodney Childers is joining JR Motorsports to be the crew chief in the number 1 Chevrolet. That'll be driven and shared by Carson Quapple, and Connor Zillich will be running in that series as well on a part-time basis. But a individual, I think he has 40 wins as a crew chief in the Cup Series. Rodney Childers coming back into the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series in the number 1 with those kind of drivers, with all that he knows. Holy cow, this should be a big one.
Well, that guy's talent is, you don't need me to say how good he is. His numbers speak for themselves. So, he's worked with some great people, but that's what it takes. It's a team. And he's going to an established organization, a successful established organization. These guys run 4 or 5 cars a week, and generally they're all competitive. Lots of wins. Justin Allgaier, current champion. They're on their game. I don't think anybody could argue that JR Motorsports is the premier Xfinity team in the garage. No question about it. And Rodney Childers, the talent, the likes of Rodney Childers, only makes it better.
I guess, and I'm excited, of course. Obviously, we're big fans of JR Motorsports, and they're doing a great job. And look what Connor's been able to do for them. I guess it's curious to have a guy like Rodney, who's been so successful, 40 races, winning in the Cup Series, moving into a lower field. We won't really say it's lower, but a different field with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series next year. What would make him do that, you think, Randy?
Well, honestly, he hasn't been employed, in the NASCAR series here of late. So, I think that's part of it. I also think because of who he is, the success he's had. Look, by now he's had plenty of job offers.
Right.
There's no question. But at the same time, if you're Rodney Childers, so you're going, I want to be with a organization that's capable of winning week after week, and I think that's pretty clear that that's what he just did. He waited. He wasn't in a hurry. He didn't have to be in a hurry, and the right situation came up that meets what he wants to do for probably the rest of his career, whatever time that is left, and be with a great organization. And remember, Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers are there. That team is amazing, the things that they were able to do, and Harvick and Junior are friends. In fact, they're business partners in the Cars Tour. So there's probably some of all of that to go along with it. But again, you just have to look at his numbers, and you go, yeah, I want that guy. Yeah.
Well, it sure is going to be exciting to watch that unfold. There's no doubt about it. Let me ask you that. What you would say, and I think you would agree with me, that Rodney Childers is a great leader, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that he would have great influence over his team. Would you agree with that?
Where he has that latitude, yes.
Yes, and so, I like to ask unusual questions. So, are you ready for this one?
No, but go ahead anyway.
I wonder if there's any way we could get Rodney Childers to maybe take a day or something and go over and visit the NFL and talk to Travis Kelce.
Oh my gosh!
What's
you did that, didn't you? Why did you do that?
Well, I mean, what is that? Inquisitive minds or whatever that, seems like a commercial. Inquisitive minds want to know, or curious minds want to know. I don't know. I just, when you talk about leadership and the need thereof, and Travis Kelce and the Chiefs and the sidelines, it just all came in front of me right on my screen almost without being on my screen.
I've tried to rationalize this my whole life, watching superstar athletes deal with superstar coaches. It comes down to this for me. Superstar or not. And I say that with respect to both. Authority, recognizing authority, is a fundamental part of how you get along in all facets of life. You have to respect the position. And I think there's a way to disagree. I think there's a way. I mean, even in the way I run my own company, you want to come into my office and shut the door and say, "Hey, can we be honest and frank and and all that stuff?" Yep, let's go. When you do it in the public eye and out in front of everybody, the other team, the media, the fans, other officials, that's where you cross the line. And I have a hard time. To me, somebody say, "Well, it's intensity." Yeah, of course it is. Yep, agreed. But if you can't, in the moment, that your intensity, if you can't manage your intensity combined with respect, then you probably need to sit down and think about it for a while.
Correct. Well, and ladies and gentlemen, we realize this is not an NFL show. We get that, and we look at everything going on in the NFL and on the racetrack and in the world, and this is just a good lesson, I think, that we could learn from what you just now said. I mean, I'd never consider. I know both of us have played sports our whole lives, and competitively, I would never even consider raising my voice or back talking to coach from little league through college. Never would have considered it. But anyway, it's a different world that we live in. But it is a good lesson, right?
It's interesting that because we talked about the Pinehurst thing in the beginning, and one of the stories that we told again this weekend was this. So we used to, when we still all lived in Pennsylvania, would drive to Pinehurst and come down. There was a lot of stops. Well, at least there was always one stop a year at some historic or significant destination. One of those one year was the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. And I will never forget it. I wasn't 18 years old yet, and they were doing a full dress for dinner. Everybody had to assemble, and they do music. I'm talking about band music, marching in unison, and the whole process, right?
Yep.
And they call that rookie crowd the plebes. And I'm watching this young man, obviously probably my age or slightly older. When I tell you he is getting the chewing out of a lifetime, my prayer for that guy was that the guy who was doing the screaming had used mouthwash, because when I tell you he was biting the nose of that kid, that's how close he was, and the volume and the screaming and so on, and that kid had to stand there and take it, and he did, and that's the respecting the position. I don't know if that kid could have took that his superior, but I know he wasn't going to try.
Correct.
I know that it didn't matter what that superior said, that kid was not going to say anything. And sometimes
it didn't look like the coach backed down, but too much. But he didn't have much to say in the press conference. But anyway, just a side note, ladies and gentlemen, and a good lesson. And with that, let's roll, because we could go on for a long time about this one, ladies and gentlemen, and some of the other comments that were made by the quarterback. And you don't know if it's AI these days or not, but boy, they were funny. Anyway, let's do it, Mr. Mark. Let's roll right into the Cup section of the Trackside program.
UniFirst presents conversation about the NASCAR Cup Series, the pinnacle in auto racing. Just like Cup, UniFirst is also the leader of the pack as the uniform and facility service experts. Let's go back to our hosts, Randy and Terry.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we mentioned a while ago that we were going to talk about ratings a little bit, and we do, and we've analyzed a lot of things at different networks, the confusion sometimes, and so on and so forth. But Randy, this race in particular in New Hampshire, I got a bunch of press releases on it. The ratings were down from last year a little over 500,000, and so a lot of the experts, commentators, et cetera, are analyzing what's the problem and what's going on and so on and so forth. I don't want to run these past you, and then just a brief time for comment. We have so much to cover. Some of the reasons why the playoffs are polarizing, I'll just go through them and you can comment. The NFL continues to grow in audience and ratings, and sometimes, of course, it does compete with NASCAR for sure. Cable definitely losing lots and lots of subscribers, and NASCAR is on more cable channels this year than any other time in history. NASCAR does have an older demographic, a little bit older. It is getting younger because of some of the great drivers, Randy, that we talk about a lot. But to get a younger person to sit for a 3-hour race is, and you notice, ladies and gentlemen, that sometimes the ratings in the last 20 laps go up substantially. So there's an example. And this is a big one, too. I mean, you take the NFL, okay, well, that's every week. But, Randy, and I was one of them, 5.2 million people in the United States watched the Charlie Kirk Memorial.
I mean, we don't.
That's a lot of eyes that were not on NASCAR for sure. So anyway, I threw a lot at you there, but your thoughts?
Well, I don't think you have to you don't have to dig too deep to really understand what caused a ratings dip for NASCAR. If you think about the demographic of the NASCAR fan, who they are, what they value, it lines up with the same kinds of things and values that Charlie Kirk stood for, and so the timing, the time when it started, and the length of that celebration of life, memorial service, revival. It definitely had an impact on the ratings. I will tell you that I listened. I was traveling back from Pinehurst, and I listened to all of that service and didn't listen to the race. I tried to watch a little bit of it on my phone, driving back, but, I'm driving. So, and to be honest with you, the content of that event, the Charlie Kirk event, was compelling. I mean, you didn't want to miss anything. You didn't want to be distracted. The speakers were amazing. The music was amazing. I talked to people this past week who sat and watched every minute of it.
Yep.
And so, I wouldn't make too much of this, honestly. I would tell you, I would bet there was discussions about whether you even had the event. I'm talking about the sporting event. Yes,
exactly. Well, and if you look at some of the some of the things, except for 5 teams in the NFL, some of the tributes that they did. So, yes, it's a great point, and we won't dwell on it any further. I'm glad we had a discussion. So I guess my point would be from the discussion is that, ladies and gentlemen, you can count on the fact that NASCAR has their eyes on all this, and they're going to deal with it. I would believe that 100%. So moving on, how about dealing with Ty? Okay, Randy. So Ty Gibbs.
I knew this was coming.
Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin had a little scrape. Ty wasn't giving up, and so Hamlin wrecks him. We all saw it. And so I would say, and I haven't gotten a press release on it, but I bet I will next. It's going to be coming out with the big sponsorship for both drivers. So just saying, because to me, you got 2 babies right there. Joe, Denny says, "Hey, when he says it on the radio for all of us to hear. When is Joe going to deal with this? When's he going to do something about it?" And Joe is kind of like the coach at Kansas City. He's dealt with lots of superstars and a really solid individual, pretty calm, cool, and collected. Joe tells the 2 drivers they should settle it among themselves, which I think is good advice. So they had, the big competition meeting, and no telling what went on there, but that was kind of the brunt of it. And then Ty comes out the next day and posts a video on his social media showing the incident again and saying this was intentional. So a quick comment on these 2 guys. I think you would agree with me on the Kleenex sponsorship, though. Just saying.
Well, I think so let's just take it a little bit, one piece at a time. I think if you're Ty Gibbs and if you follow him, he's had a rough, year and a half.
Yep.
And they're starting to gain some ground. Not across every racetrack, but more than not. So he's fighting for, to keep the momentum that they've had in recent races. Denny Hamlin, obviously, is fighting for a championship. I think this is one of the things that actually makes this whole playoff thing kind of interesting because the guys they're still racing for wins, whether you're in the playoffs or you aren't.
Right.
And so I think that's it. Now, I will say this. In times past, Joe Gibbs is pretty good at managing expectations and talking to the drivers and telling them what they need to do and how they're going to do this in the playoffs. But obviously now he has a grandson in this deal. And so
right.
His comment about, hey, the 2 drivers need to settle it is really him, I think, him trying to be as fair as possible.
Mm-hmm.
If it was, I would say it would be different if it was Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell. I think it would be different. But the fact that it includes his grandson, I think he probably did the right thing and said, y'all got to go settle it. I'm not going to settle this one. And I don't think that's a wrong position for him. Denny has an expectation, and you can argue with me about this, that, hey, I am running for a championship. I have basically a Hall of Fame career, one of the top drivers in the series in terms of wins, and so you should give me the courtesy of getting the heck out of my way. But I think I don't, and I've raced with people like that. There's people like that all the time that think you should get out of the way. Well, you're fighting for your reputation. You're fighting for your reputation on the track. You're fighting for how these guys are going to view you, in certain circumstances. And so I don't know that I blame Ty Gibbs. I can understand sometimes you got to have a little bigger picture mentality. But Denny's quick to point out everybody else's faults and doesn't very often take responsibility for his own.
Therein lies the Kleenex sponsorship. I would agree. In closing on that one, though, I would agree with you. I don't like some of the things that Ty has done, but he is a young guy. But if you look at Hamlin's record and his seasons and how close he has come, to a championship, and then something goofy happens at the last, and he doesn't get it. I kind of get the pressure, and so it's a tough one to defend on either side. So let's move on. And you said something, and I cautioned the audience to listen and think about. You said there's only 4. Well, since February, when NASCAR convened, and they have several times since, and a lot of discussion about the playoffs. And then, there was some folks that advocated for, eliminating the playoff system altogether in that meeting, and going back to, it's points down to the last race, and that decides the championship, and that kind of went away. And now NASCAR, and I'm quoting the press release, NASCAR is seriously weighing the possibility of drastically overhauling the playoffs or doing away with them altogether. So it is being considered. Me personally, and I'm a person that looks at the ratings every week and kind of weighs it every week, and they don't seem to be, over the past years with the new playoff system, much increased because of the playoffs. I like the points to the end. One guy is the champ, and looking at the Logano situation from last year. Anyway, that's my thinking out loud, and so I just threw you another one, Randy.
Well, it's interesting because now we're back to the start. We're back 360 degrees, because there was a conversation. The reason this changed was because there were guys who were point racing, and they didn't like that. There was a lot of conversation about point racing, and so they decided on a playoff system that emphasized wins. That's how you make sure you moved on. And so here we go. We're back to it. I don't really care. Honestly, my answer to this question is I don't really care. I care about this. I do think you need to continue the stages. I do think you need to award points for the stages. I think you should award a point or two for the pole. I think you can do some things that enhance the point system. If you're going to go back to a point system only and everybody's in the race, then okay. I think you can do something to the point system that emphasizes behavior on the racetrack that you want to see, if you're a fan or if you're watching from TV or in person. That's what I would say. If you're going to go back to a point system,
gotcha.
You gotta enhance the point system.
We will wait and see on that, ladies and gentlemen. As we run out of time, just a real quick one. This is a big one. Randall Burnett will be the crew chief for Connor Zillage in 2026. That is currently Kyle Busch's crew chief. The guys, all of the guys next week, and I was going to get into this a little bit further, we just ran out of time. Next week, we'll be putting up the pink window nets to honor and think about breast cancer. I kind of get that. And a lot of people do. And in closing, this is a good one and kind of ironic, Randy. Classic Collision is going to be sponsoring Carson Hocevar and Spire Motorsports in Las Vegas and Phoenix. Classic Collision, Carson Hocevar. Did you get that, Randy?
I heard you. Yep.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've had so much fun. We're glad you're with us, and get out and see some racing this weekend. New Smyrna is underway for sure, and we'll see you next week if we're still on the air right here on Trackside.
Get the racetrack, everybody.
And with the checkered flag waving, we're wrapping up this week's edition of Trackside. Fear not, race fans, because we'll be back next week, proudly presented by Document Technologies. Tune in for a fresh new episode packed with engaging interviews, captivating conversations, and all the exhilarating moments you've come to expect. Until then, keep the racing spirit alive, and we'll see you next time on Trackside.